Rock and roll may live forever, but we only retire once. Kevin Lamour of Our Financial Plans and Quadris Investment Services offers a large range of financial solutions from some of the biggest leaders in the investment and insurance landscape of Canada. See how a solid financial plan built with friendly and professional advice can help. Find out more at ourfinancialplans.ca or give them a call at 705-949-1316. And welcome to another episode of the Lonesome Cowboy Podcast. I have a guest on today all the way from the nation's capital, which is all eyes are upon right now. And I suppose he probably hopes they were on him rather than something else. But from Ottawa, musician, singer-songwriter Matt Gower. Matt, how you doing?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Well, I think we follow each other on the socials and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
that's kind of where I find my guests. I just see who's out there trying to make a living at this kind of thing, right?
For sure.
Yeah, exactly. So Matt, tell me about, again, we briefly discussed this at the beginning, but in regards to, you seem to be doing it a little bit different, right? You don't have the big website with all the info and that on it, and you seem to be just going with the Bandcamp and socials and stuff like that. Is that an intentional plan, or how's that working out for you? Because it's, I've seen it done before. Let's put it that way.
Well, intentionally unintentional, I suppose, would be the strategy there, because I'm not a web guy. I don't know how to build a web page, and these things cost money. So I'm trying to kind of do things on the cheap as much as I can, and put money into where it needs to be. Like, for instance, recording and like streaming on iTunes and things like that. And when I start to get more gigs, and when I start to kind of earn more money and such, that's when maybe I'll put it into the website. But you know what, like, everybody is gonna, you click on a website or on a Bandcamp page or whatever, and it's gonna direct you to where I want it to be. I want people to hear my music, and so that's kind of where I want people to go.
Yes.
And that's what it's all about. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's a really good, it's not the first time I've seen that approach kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, with the days as it is with social media and musicians, I don't know about you, but I know it's one of the least favorite things I have to do.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, the social media stuff now, like, it keeps me busy as it is. So, like, most of the time I spend devoted towards actually, like, the process of creating music. I write music, I practice music, I perform music, and then in the past, like, 10 years, there's been an extra element to that, an extra dimension to that, and that would be the social media aspect. So now you've got to perform a song and post it to YouTube and all the places, and so that takes up an extra amount of effort, because like that takes away from the songwriting side, which is kind of like where I feel driven. Like, when I'm taking time away from songwriting, I kind of feel like a mild vibration of panic when I'm not songwriting. I don't know.
Yeah. I kind of feel there's a little touch of anxiety, right? When you haven't maybe written a song in a little while, and however that little while might be, and then all of a sudden you turn around and go, hey, I should be writing a song, shouldn't I?
Yeah. And I went through some long periods of not writing songs. Partly, because, I have a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old, so they take up a lot of my time. So I kind of, and when they were babies, when they were little, you can't sing while they're sleeping, because you wake them up.
Yep.
So I spent a lot of time away from my guitar, away from my songwriting. And now that I'm a stay-at-home dad, my kids are both at school, I actually have a lot of time to devote to songwriting, and I actually make it a point, inspiration for me is 5% of the songwriting process, if any. I'm every day I'm just writing, I'm journaling, I'm putting lyrics on paper. So that's kind of my process. So, like, right now, I don't panic about inspiration. I just panic about just not writing and not keeping up the habit. It's more the ethic and the routine of it that I don't like to get away from.
Okay, so that brings me to this question as a songwriter myself. I mean, for a while I was being prolific, and then all of a
Hmm.
sudden it was like, screech, screech. The brakes went on, and it was like, okay, there's not much in the tank anymore. And
Yeah.
I panicked in that respect. So I get where you're coming from. Now, when it comes now, I know like Nashville, the songwriting capital of the world, kind of
Hmm.
thing. They actually go to work in the morning and write songs, take a lunch, come back and write more songs, and then go home at night. It's kind of a factory. Well, they, you
Hmm.
know,
Hmm.
kind of thing. I've heard a couple of of thoughts when it comes to songwriting. Some say you got to do it and you find inspiration when you're working. And others say, and I've heard, Johnny Cash and Chris Christopherson all say that, they don't write until they feel something kind of thing. And
Mm.
that's it. So what's your method? Do you make sure that you make it a habit or do you just sit back and wait for the inspo?
I don't sit back and wait because if you sit back and wait, it might never come. The
Hmm.
longer you wait, the harder it takes to come. So I just I'm always open to the little ideas that come into my car. Like luckily, one of the we were talking about social media. One of the little bits of technology that has been a really big benefit to me is my phone. Because I use my notes app on my iPhone all the time, and I'm always adding stuff to it if I have an idea. And so I've always got my phone handy to jot it down. Whereas 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, I would just rely on inspiration. But now I've learned that it takes more than that. You have to like work it out. You have to work it
Hmm.
out. It's not just about channeling. Maybe it is for some people, but for me, it's not about um, channeling the divine inspiration. For me, it's
There you go.
just I got to work it. I have to work it.
Sure. Well, that's interesting because I don't know who said it, and maybe some of our viewers can tell me who it was, but they say inspiration will find you when you're working. So there you go. So
Yeah,
if you want to be inspired to write a song, start writing a song.
exactly. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, that's about it. So when it comes to well, not just songwriting, but song inspiration and styles, where do you lean on most, Matt, for your in
Well,
other
for
influences, we'll call it rather than inspiration?
influences and styles. Well, I went through a big period where the banjo was my main instrument, and I'm,
Oh,
I'm not
cool.
talking bluegrass. I'm talking like, well, for a little bit, I like in my mid 20s, I was just kind of strumming the banjo like a guitar, but not I love listening to bluegrass, but I can't play it at all. And then eventually, I learned clawhammer banjo, so I was really getting into the old timey kind of stuff, and so that kind of the bluegrass and the old timey stuff kind of really influenced my songwriting. And then I discovered Wilco. And Wilco, Jeff Tweedy is an amazing songwriter. And when you combine all those things, I love listening to alt country, to just roots music in general,
Sure.
Americana kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I just try to whenever I'm writing a song, I just try to keep it relatively timeless in the sense that you can't really pin it to a certain era when you listen to it.
I like
And
it.
and an acoustic guitar is the most timeless of all instruments because it's existed through all eras. So that's kind of what I use as my main instrument now. So yeah, that's kind of my philosophy. And Jeff Tweedy kind of kickstarted me back into songwriting after I read his How to Write One Song book. That's a really important book in my songwriting journey because I feel like I haven't really written complete songs until like just in the like past like 3-4 years.
There you go. That's awesome. Well done. So the banjo is one of your instruments. Do you anything else that you play on?
Just guitar and banjo. I've got a little MIDI keyboard that I sometimes use if I need to add some extra kind of
Yeah.
dimension to a song. But
Yeah.
but an acoustic guitar is my main instrument these days. I've been playing guitar all my life, so
Hmm.
so acoustic guitar is kind of where I write my songs. And then if I hear something that might from the guitar song that might adapt well to banjo, I might go there. Or that's kind
Sure.
of
Yeah,
how
I
it is
get it.
these days. Yeah.
Yeah, lay out the basics on the guitar and then decide if something else needs to go in.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I very much agree with you. I try to get that kind of like I always say. I don't want my I want my records recorded by Ralph Peer when he was doing those tours in the South in Appalachia. There recording all those guys.
Hmm.
I love that old one microphone stuff. So I
Yeah.
actually rented a open back banjo and I'm just trying to. I rented it for a month. I figure if in a month I can't make something that assembling music, I'm going to return it and I won't bother with it. I'll just stick with the guitar.
Well, it's kind of when you're playing when you're working on climber, it's almost like playing guitar backwards. It's you
I
got
know.
once you get that rhythm down, once you get it locked in, it's that's kind of how you go from there. But
Yeah.
yeah, it took a while for me to master that skill.
Mm.
Uh,
I'm nowhere near it. I've been claw hammering with my guitar, which I enjoy, just standard tuning.
Awesome. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and that makes for a nice old timey sound. But
yeah.
yeah, with the banjo, you're right. It's almost upside down, and that fifth string that gets in my
Mhm.
way, it's like it's like
But at
what
the
the
same time,
heck?
like banjo really forces you to simplify things about your songwriting. It's that's what I love about the banjo is that
Mm.
it's a simple instrument, and the tuning is different than the guitar, so that kind of gets you out of the guitar zone sometimes when you pick up the banjo. But yeah, I love just the simplicity of the banjo.
Yeah, very much so. So, in regards to the concerts and or gigs
Mhm.
that you have, I obviously you play around Ottawa and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Have you done any touring at all, Matt?
Well, you were saying that there's not a lot of background info on me. I used to be in a band called Capital Grass and the No Men. We called ourselves
Oh,
garage folk. I would play
nice.
band, like I said, I would play banjo and plug it into pedals and such. And so we were originally based in Guelph. So we kind of we kind of used Guelph as our hub and did Toronto and Hamilton and stuff. And Ottawa's my hometown, so we'd come to Ottawa, and eventually the band itself moved to Ottawa. So I've played all over Ottawa. More recently. I've done a show in Wakefield. I've got another one coming up actually at Cafe 1870.
Yeah.
But basically, Ottawa is a great kind of hub for playing shows. There's lots of great folk venues. I think in the next like 3 or 4 months, I have I think 4 different venues that I'm playing at. So it's at least it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's good. That's something we lack here is venues. And
Where is here, by the way? I don't know
sorry, I
where you're.
forgot. I'm in Sault Ste. Marie. How's that?
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay,
there you go. Uh,
okay.
about 9 hours northwest of you there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Enjoy Ottawa a lot though. I've made visits there before. I enjoy that place quite a bit.
Hmm.
So I know there's not a lot of gigs available locally in this city because it's just limited.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of the venues I think have kind of without getting together have realized, okay, the standard rate in this town is this much.
Mhm.
And that's what everybody gets. It doesn't matter who you are. How's the venue situation there in regards to making things good for the for the artists themselves? Are the venues artist friendly?
Um, yeah, I'd say so. For instance, like it's very much kind of in the artist's hands, I would say mostly. If you're organizing your own show, as opposed to like someone asking you to kind of be an opener or whatever, mostly you're in charge of the ticket sales, I would say. For instance, I just did a songwriters round at a place called Meow That's Hot here in Ottawa. It's a little bar venue, and that's kind of like my home base for open stages once a month.
Hmm.
But they basically put the show organizer Christine Greaves in charge of it, and she did all the ticket selling. So she's in charge of paying out all the artists. So it's kind of out of their hands, so they don't even have to worry about that. Whereas, for instance, I haven't played there in a while. There's a place called Avant Garde Bar in
Hmm.
Ottawa. They do a pay what you can situation where they pretty much put everything in the hands of the artist. Where you have to bring your own PA, you have to bring your own,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
you have to bring your own hat for the pay what you can.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's mostly and to be honest, I'm out of the game a little bit from having kids. Like it's been like I've done a bunch of gigs this year, but since then it's been since like I think 2016 or 17 since I've played in Ottawa regularly. So I've had a long hiatus. So it's things have changed a lot I've left and come back. So
Okay.
it's a little, I guess, disorienting, but it's nice to get back into things. And yeah, so far I'm kind of seeing that it's mostly in the artist's hands.
Right.
There's a place called Live on Elgin. They kind of do their own ticketing, but they pretty much put everything in your own hands. Book the guests and there's one place that like do your own sound, like set up yourself kind of thing. It's very very self sufficient.
Yeah. Here's the
As you have
space.
to be for a musician. You have to
Yeah, I
sell
guess so,
yourself.
right? Yeah.
You have to be in charge. Like you have to be motivated. You have to do it.
Yeah. So, in regards to say before and after you were talking about, so I'm going to put a timeline maybe.
Yeah.
Let's say what was the audiences or the venues like prior to the pandemic and then after the pandemic? I know a lot of people are
Cool.
saying it's just not the same. Others say, yeah, it's coming back, but it's slow. What's your thought?
I kind of skipped the pandemic. Is what happened. Is what
Wow. Tell me how you did that.
well, I had kids and we stayed in our house.
Mm, that'll do it.
No, so like before the pandemic, like I said, like I think 2017 was my last gig before 2020. And so I, yeah, I would say that, yeah, I don't know, maybe they were more venues because, and what the pandemic did was it thinned out the venues to the ones that maybe want to really put music forward.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, like uh, yeah, I'm finding that, yeah, I think social media is more powerful than it used to be as well. So that's kind of what the difference is between between before the pandemic, way before the pandemic, and way after. I don't really feel like there's it's affected me so much post pandemic, but that's because like I said, I kind of skipped it.
Yeah.
Um,
That's one way to do it, eh? Just
yeah, but what the pandemic also did for a lot of people was it created more songwriters. It created more gearheads. Like and I'm guilty of that too. Like I was bored, and I put together an entire pedal board for my electric guitar that I basically just used to solo on recordings. But like it created more interest in the equipment of music, and it created more songwriters. And I think maybe right around now, like in the past like 2-3 years, we're starting to see the songwriters come through the woodwork.
yeah, exactly. Um, the big thing, of course, with the DIY artists that we are,
Mhm.
what's the biggest challenge that you have with your music in regards to getting it out in the music business and that kind of stuff? What's your biggest
Finding ears is the biggest challenge.
really, yeah?
One of my kind of solutions to that is I try to first of all post songs more often, and part of the challenge in finding those ears, even if you found those ears, getting them to listen for more than like 10 seconds. If you go into your like stats or whatever on Instagram, you'll see like the average listen is only like 10 seconds. So like it's like, even though you're getting 500 views, you're getting like blinks basically. So my strategy has been to kind of I try to post a cover song every week to kind of get some interested listeners who might be like looking to learn a song or whatever, or just hear a different version of a song. Because one of my biggest annoyances is just hearing the people who just you go to a band and you hear the cover band to just play it straight. I want to hear a version of a cover song, so that's what I try to do every week, and that makes it interesting for people to hear and maybe kind of drives them towards my music a little bit more. But just being consistent and putting songs out. And another thing that I've been doing is I've started recently having a newsletter. So I put all my stuff in there. Sign up for my newsletter, by the way. That's
There you go.
mattgower.substack.com.
Right on. And
So just like putting as much out there as you can. I'm not on TikTok, but like like it's like the TikTok kind of I guess what's the word, like the TikTok approach is basically just post. And I don't
Saturation,
have that
yeah.
much time,
Neither do
but
I.
just put as much out there as you can. And
Yeah.
I also try to just put little tidbits of songwriting advice on my threads page and things like that.
Yeah. Well, I see you're on Substack, and that's of course where I have the podcast and
Nice.
my other stuff too. And so, how are you using Substack? Because that's a new thing for a lot of musicians, and
Yeah.
you don't see a ton of them on there. How are you using it, Matt, to work with your music?
Well, I'm using it to talk a little bit more about the music. People who are going to read Substack, I think, they're going to make the effort to kind of want to know about it. So I'll talk about for a couple Substacks, I was talking about a song that I was just having a hard time writing, so I'd give an update on that song, or talk about my gigs, or and just kind of going a little bit more in depth that you can't necessarily do because if people don't expand your paragraphs long post on an Instagram post or whatever. So kind of directing folks to my Substack page in order to kind of get the inside story.
And that's a nice thing about Substack, right? Is that it's if you're going there, you better expect to do some reading because that's what it's about.
That's what it's for.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, which is kind of nice. And like I said, I wanted to do a podcast, and I had an artist in the States that uses it quite extensively, and he's fantastic, Carter Hogan, and Creekbed Carter Hogan, and there's one you should subscribe to because he's got some great writings. And then I finally saw the podcast, and I went, "Hey, this is a good
Yeah.
idea," and you can do a lot with
And
it.
podcasting is something that I also considered. I am a former podcaster. I did a baseball podcast
Oh,
throughout
nice.
the pandemic. But I decided, like, I'm one of those people for podcast interviews who likes to prep a lot, have all my questions, and that took up a lot of brain power when I was doing my baseball podcast. So I decided, leave that to the podcasters and just post what I can post, and not get all worked up about preparing.
Yeah, I understand. And that's the same way. I actually had a podcast prior to this one. It was called Rock and Roll Heaven on another service that's is no longer. And I interviewed all kinds of big stars and Chris DeBerg and Joe Satriani and a lot of Canadian artists. And sometimes not having yourself boxed into all that prep, and sometimes just having that conversation can make for a way better interview sometimes.
Oh yeah, no, and that was one of my favorite things about the podcast was having the interviews and getting to talk to people.
Yeah.
And getting the free stuff. I got so many free baseball books from from doing that. So
Yeah, I gotta love it.
maybe I should do a guitar podcast, and maybe I'll get some free guitars out of the deal.
That's one way to think about it. Tell me, yeah, if that works, let me know. They don't send me any free guitars. They're looking for better guitar players. That's probably
I'll
why.
start small and do a podcast about guitar picks, and then work.
I will subscribe to that, man. I really would. I definitely subscribe to it. That's for sure. So as far as the songwriting and that goes, what I see on your Bandcamp, I just see a full list of demo recordings as
Yeah.
opposed to a full album. It's
Well, some of those songs are going to be on the album. I
okay.
just kind of put them up there just to have them there because just to kind of have a spot to plunk the demos as I
Sure.
record them. But yeah, the first, I would say, if you go to my Bandcamp page, I think the first four songs are actually on the album. But I'm in the process of recording it, so I don't know. I don't know what the title's going to be. I don't know when it's going to be released.
Sure.
I kind of do like one song a week ish, depending on how busy my week is
Yeah.
work,
Yeah. Cool.
But yeah, I just kind of plunk stuff down there, and that's if someone wants to take the time to listen to all those songs, that's great. But
Sure.
just a holding spot for all my songs.
Yeah, exactly. That's now right now, I mean the songs are basically you and a guitar.
Yeah.
And is the final album going to be the same, Matt, or are you planning on having additional instruments on that?
Well, I my basic kind of template for each song is guitar, voice, and then I'll usually add some electric guitar on there for some flavor, so like a solo in there or whatever. And that's pretty much it. Like that. But I don't want to have just me and the guitar because that gets kind of a little bit like I would love to be able to do the Jason Isbell thing, but I'm not good enough as a guitarist to kind of do what he can do. But just to kind of give it a little bit more flavor, and that's kind of the cool thing about the demos is that like the raw demos are just me and the guitar, but the more like polished recording stuff is kind of what you might more expect to hear from the album.
So is this a self recording
Yep.
you're doing, Matt? Okay,
Yep.
you're
Yep.
recording it at home.
Yep.
And that's the other thing I'm noticing too in the music business. The
Yeah.
DIY artist really can't afford to rent a studio
No,
anymore.
that's true. Like I have as much time in theory as I need during the day while the kids are in school. And I don't like even just getting out of the house to go to a recording studio. That time just in the commute takes away time from the recording. So I prefer to be able to do it all myself and have that control over it and that cost control over it.
Yeah, exactly. It's outstanding, Matt. Well, I'm glad I got to talk to you. You know, I consider you somebody maybe that's at the beginning of your music career kind of thing, and
Well, that's where the
in the
research
middle,
led.
maybe.
In the middle, yeah. I'll give you my history near. We're at the probably at the end of the podcast, but I'll give you a
That's
little
all
bit
right.
of a background. Like
Please.
I've been doing music since my early 20s. I'm in my mid 40s now, and yeah, I went from Capitol Grass from about mid 2000s up until I guess 2015 ish. Then I took those 5 years off and I'm back, so it's been over 20 years of being in the music industry. And I've been around and I used to work, I don't know if you've ever been to Ottawa, but the Ottawa Folklore Center was I worked there for 5 years.
Oh, well, that sounds
Um,
like a cool place.
yeah, so I was in the middle of music. I was selling people acoustic guitars and banjos and yeah, no, so I was there, and before that I worked for the folk festival on Ottawa when it was still at Britannia Beach.
Very nice.
I worked in 2016 after the folklore center closed. I worked at the jazz festival here in Ottawa. So my life has been surrounded in music. I've been performing on stage, with a band or solo since I would say about 2006 or seven. I want to say so. I'd say I'm mid career, but I've kind of rebooted things a little bit. I guess
Yeah.
maybe that's the best way to put it. I've had a bit of a career reboot.
Reboots. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you see, I've been at it since I've been playing since I was 14 years old in so many bloody bands, and uh, and they still call me an emerging artist.
Well, that's emerging is a good thing to be called as opposed to a reverting or something. I don't know.
Yeah, a reverting artist. Yeah, yeah. I just when they say emerging, it sounds like I'm being born or something like that. I could just have this odd visual goes with it. All right, folks, do go to Bandcamp and check out Matt's songs. He's got some great writing in there, some good lyrics that will definitely make you think and feel, and those are good things. And Matt, I want you to tell the folks where they can find your music and socials or anything like that. Tell them all about it.
Yeah, well, social media at Matt Gower Ottawa is the way to search me. mattgower.bandcamp.com. Yeah, subscribe to my Substack, mattgower.bandcamp.com. Yeah, just look for me. There's another Matt Gower out there who
Yes.
has like one single, and that is not me. And actually, that song got played and was credited to me on a radio station recently. It's not me. It's not me.
Oops. The other
Yeah.
Matt Gower wasn't happy about that, I guess.
Yeah. Anyways, so just search Matt Gower Ottawa and anything and that'll bring you to my music. And yeah, definitely. My songs are about feeling and thinking, so that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, it's great stuff there, and very very cool lyrics and introspective in that respect. And what's the next gig coming up for you?
Next gig coming up is April the 10th, I think, at live on Elgin. That is a place that survived the pandemic. So if you go to my Instagram at Matt Gower Ottawa, that'll be the first post pinned to my
Yes.
page. So yeah, that's the next one coming up.
Yeah. And if you go to Matt's Bandcamp, they'll give you a link to his link tree and you can find all his stuff there.
Oh yeah, Linktree is good too. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's where I went down the rabbit hole of the first Matt Gower I came across, and I went, wait a minute, that's not the guy.
Yeah, no, it's not me.
That doesn't sound nothing like I thought it is. Anyways, Matt, thanks for coming on the program. I really do appreciate it.
All right, thanks for having me.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Rock and roll may live forever, but we only retire once. Kevin Lamour of Our Financial Plans and Quadris Investment Services offers a large range of financial solutions from some of the biggest leaders in the investment and insurance landscape of Canada. See how a solid financial plan built with friendly and professional advice can help. Find out more at ourfinancialplans.ca or give them a call at 705-949-1316.